All right, so welcome to week one of CIS 210. I am Professor Lusby, and I wanted to uh, do a live webinar here on what exactly is required on week one and answer a lot of the frequently asked questions. Um, but yeah, let's go ahead and dive in real quick. For sure, make sure you check out the introduction video. I go over a lot of the high level elements that you're going to need for every week of this course. The most important elements being news and announcements. Please make sure that you're always checking those when you log in. I do post sometimes daily um, with some helpful information. Um, they do have this smart thinking tutoring service that is free. Feel free to reach out to them. I have a lot of students that have had quite a bit of success there. But this is the most important one, right? This virtual desktop, um, it is required for this course, and you can access it on any PC, Windows, Chromebook, or MacBook. Here's the instructions here, and I go over that in that introduction video at the top. And then uh, once you've got that all set up, you can click on this, open the virtual desktop link, and get to a virtual desktop, Windows virtual desktop that has everything installed that you need for this class. So you don't have to install or configure um, your machine. It already has NetBeans installed and the Java JDK, the proper Java JDK that you need for JavaFX, which is what this textbook uses. And you can hit the ground running. And I'm going to go into that a little bit more here in a second. And then the last important link is this programming assignment frameworks. We are going to be doing some activities out of the book for the discussions, and a lot of that code you can import using this particular link here. And again, I'll go into that in more detail here in just a second. But for sure, during week one, obviously you need to post to the introductions discussion forum. A lot of you have already done that, so thank you for doing that. If you haven't done that yet, please do so. It just helps me to get to know you a little bit better, as well as making sure you can launch the virtual desktop and take a screenshot of that and go ahead and submit it here. And then that way I know that you have access to the virtual desktop. If you have any issues getting to the virtual desktop, please email me or reach out to the GMC help desk. It is definitely necessary for this course. Okay. So also week one, yeah, make sure you do the participation and academic honesty verification. I think that needs to be completed within the first 4 days, or the system may automatically drop you. So if you haven't done that yet, for sure, that is high priority. Go ahead and get that knocked out. And you can take it multiple times, but at the end of the day, you do need to score 100% before you can see any of this content. All right. All right, so we are in week one here. Let's take a look at what it is exactly that we need to do. For sure, week one is all about chapter one in your textbook. So I assume that is the other thing that you want to make sure of, is that you have access to the textbook. And the textbook that we're using for this course is called Java Illuminated. This is the 5th edition. Please make sure that you are using the 5th edition, because some of these activities are a little bit different from the 4th edition. Okay. And for week one, we're going to be focusing in on chapter one here. All right. And chapter one is all about introduction to programming and the Java language. And it just kind of goes over at a high level, right? What is hardware, all the basic technology concepts, starts talking about how we represent numbers under the hood within a computer, difference between high and low level languages, what is object-oriented programming, why is Java so cool, so great, right? So a lot of high level things that you need to know for the reason I'm bringing this up, right? The week one quiz. All right. Definitely don't take the week one quiz until you are comfortable and familiar with the material here in chapter 1, because those questions do come directly from the textbook. All right. So make sure that you read over chapter 1, maybe take some notes, and once you feel comfortable with that content, then go ahead and take the week 1 quiz. This is due by the end of week 1. And so, yeah, make sure that you complete it before the end of week 1. And I believe, let's see, your week 1 quiz, here it is. 6 multiple choice, 2 open response. You have 25 minutes to take it. Only 1 attempt at the quiz. So again, make sure you're comfortable and familiar with that material before taking the quiz. All right. So, and I would say, you can hold off to the end of the week. Just don't forget, because at the end of week 1, basically the quiz is closed out, and I can't reopen it. All right. All right. What are the other 2 things? Well, now this is where things get exciting. We have a discussion forum, and we have a programming assignment. And for the discussion forum, it wants us to basically take a look at this particular programming activity in your textbook. Chapter 1, programming activity 1, writing a first Java application. All right. And I know it says, well, once you've completed it, then answer these following questions. This is a discussion. You don't have to get everything perfect. I do want you to make an attempt at this programming activity and try to get it to work. But at the end of the day, if you're struggling after a significant amount of time, well, maybe that's what you put in your discussion post, and you outline what it is exactly that you're struggling with there, as well as, please make an attempt at answering the questions listed underneath here, these 4 questions, because they are, it's a way to get the discussion going. All right. So how do we go about doing this, especially if you are brand new to programming? Let me see if I can help you out a little bit. First thing you're going to want to do here is launch the virtual desktop, which is a link right here. Click to open the virtual desktop. It's going to ask you for your username and password. I went over in the introduction video how to do that, and all the instructions are here as far as when you click on this, what it is that you need to do. But basically, you got to enter credentials, your GMC credentials. Once you enter your GMC credentials, you should see a screen that looks like this. This is the Windows virtual desktop. It does run inside of your web browser, which is why we can support this on a Chromebook or a Mac or a Windows machine, because it's a virtual machine running and being displayed through your web browser. I would suggest utilizing Chrome. I know it's been tested well with Chrome. Some of the other web browsers, I do know there's a couple of incompatibilities with a couple of the other web browsers. So if it doesn't work using another web browser, try utilizing Chrome. Okay. All right, so this is the virtual desktop, and remember that the discussion wants us to look at programming activity 1, writing a first Java application. And if we look at the book, that's here, 1.5.4. And if we go to that programming activity 1, we see that, yeah, it's about creating our first Java program, which makes sense, right? You just started CIS 210. That's the whole idea here, is that we want to get you writing some Java code. And they show us some nice example code here that is basically a hello world program where you're displaying a string. In this case, it is programming is not a spectator sport. All right, seems easy enough, but the question is, well, where the heck do I put this code? And how do I get it to do something? How do I get it to run? All right, so that's where the virtual desktop comes in. what I want you to do is launch the virtual desktop. And if I'm going a little fast here, remember I'm going to post this recording later, and feel free to pause, rewind, fast forward. That is why I record these, so that you can kind of go at your own pace later on. Don't be afraid to pause it or rewind or fast forward. All right. But the first thing we want to do is talk about programming activity 1, and it gives us a file already called first program. And so what we want to do is download. Anytime we're doing these discussions, at least 9 times out of 10, you're gonna use pre-made code that the textbook author has already created for you. So the first thing you want to do is come in here into your virtual desktop, launch Chrome inside of your virtual desktop. All right. And go ahead and log into GMC. Okay. Go ahead and log into GMC and go to, let's see here, go to your classroom. All right. In this case, CIS 210. And is it towards the top? No, it's right after the virtual desktop here. You should see this link here, CIS 210 Programming Assignment Frameworks. All right, just down from the top a little bit. Go ahead and click on that. That's going to download this file here. All right, once it's downloaded, go ahead and click on that zip file. I'm going to just close this and minimize Chrome. So we can see that it's downloaded that file to the downloads folder in the virtual desktop. All right, and if we go inside the source code here, we'll see that there's all 8 chapters that we need for at least CIS 210. And for these discussions, for instance, chapter 1 has a programming activity. So if we drill down into the programming activity, we can see that, oh, hey, there's a Java file ready for us. All right. Now, the question is, well, what do we do with this? Right? This is where you need a Java IDE. All right. That stands for Integration Development Environment. And for this course, you want to use NetBeans 8.2. All right. Always come in here and use this. There isn't a newer version of NetBeans up here, but it has the wrong Java JDK installed, and it won't work properly with some of the code that you're going to be running later. So please, please, please always use this one here. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and double click on NetBeans 8.2 so we can launch it in the virtual desktop. And we're going to see a very similar procedure for all of the assignments that we need to do each week. And if you've created previous projects, you'll see them here on the left-hand side of the window. And a lot of IDEs are set up like this. If you see something about updates, please ignore it. Do not click on it. The updates might push the wrong version of the Java JDK, and then you get all sorts of weird errors. So ignore that. And but here's the projects window off to the left. When you open up code, you're going to see it in this big window here. Your output is going to happen down here. And so once you get familiar with one IDE, you'll see that the rest are very similar to this, and you'll be comfortable in a lot of the other IDEs for other future courses. All right. But first thing we want to do here, and this is what we're always going to do, is we're going to come up here and we're going to say File, New Project. All right. File, New Project. We're going to make sure that Java application is selected here at the top. Okay. And it should be by default. If not, make sure you select Java application, and then click on Next. Now what we're going to do is give it a nice descriptive name. I guess here 22 FA CMP, excuse me, CMP CIS 211. This is week or chapter 1 discussion, right? Whatever you want to call it, as long as it's nice and descriptive, because later on you may need to find this code and submit this code, right? Maybe this is an assignment. So the more descriptive you can be with this name, you're going to help yourself out later, trust me. All right. So give it a nice descriptive name. Here under the project location, keep that as is. This is a virtual directory to the virtual desktop that you have read and write privileges to. If you try to change it to another virtual directory or even your local directory on your local computer, the virtual machine gets very confused and you might start to see some weird errors. So leave this as is. All right, and I'll show you where this is later on if you need to actually access these files. All right, so leave this as is, nice descriptive name, and then come down here, uncheck create main class because we already have the code we need. We just downloaded it from the textbook activity frameworks folder. All right, go ahead and click on finish. All right, and we should see a new project over here with a nice empty default package that has nothing in it. And that is exactly what we want. Now, what's the next step? Well, remember that file that we just downloaded, right? I minimized it. Here it is, first program. And we want the Java files. Ignore the class files. All right, you want to take this Java file, hold down the left mouse button and drag and drop it here into the default package and release. All right, once you do that, you'll see that it's automatically added to the default package, and that is exactly what we want. All right, once we've done that, now we can double click on first program, and we'll see that this is the exact same file as here. All right, so I suppose you could type in this code if you like, if you want to do that, but you can also just use the textbook activity frameworks folder and import the existing code, because at the end of the day, what they want us to do here, I thought they wanted us to do an additional, where did it go? Give me just a second. Chapter 1, where the heck did programming activity 1 go? There it is. All right. Well, maybe not. Maybe they just want us to run it. All right. So once we have this code here, the way we get the computer to run the code or compile and execute the code is you come up here. Once you don't see any syntax errors, all right. Well, let's take a step back here. You're new to programming. What is all this? Let's go over the code first, and then let's talk about running it. All right. This is something called a comment. If you put // not backslash, but / in front of the line, that basically means that you can leave a comment for a human, because the computer ignores any of these lines with comments in it. Typically, they're done to help clarify what it is that the file is or what it is that the code is supposed to do. Maybe you need to come back to this code a year from now and you forget what in the heck it was that you were doing when you coded it. It's always good to comment your code. Definitely one of the requirements for your assignments is putting in, I believe, your name and the assignment number and the date. You want to basically include that here and eventually create something that looks like, where's first program, week 1 discussion here. All right. Maybe clean it up a little bit and put a nice header at the top, right? That states what class, what discussion, who you are. All right. So yeah, comments are always good. Definitely do a file comment header at the top. And then, all right, what is all this stuff down below? So every program in Java, since it is an object-oriented language, you do have to declare a class. All right, and in this case, this particular program is declaring a class called first program. And as long as it's a public class, then Java is happy. Now, the second thing that we need to do for every program is define a main method. Okay, every program starts with main. All right. And if there was no main method and you try to compile and run this, the computer would say, you're crazy. I can't find main. I have no idea where to start. I'm not going to run this. All right. So for sure, we have to have a public static void main, and it needs to look exactly like this. So there's no, you don't get any creative freedoms here. For sure, your main method needs to be declared like this. Now, why is main important? Because it's going to, the computer, when it runs this, is going to look for main, and it's going to execute all the code that is inside of main. All right. And for us, we just have a simple hello world program that is basically calling the system library, calling the, I think it's a namespace, out namespace, and calling the print ln. That is a letter L, not the number one. Print line is how you say that. Print line, and then it basically, we pass a string or numbers or whatever we want it to display, and it should display it. All right. Notice if you were typing it in though, and you thought that this was a 1 and not an L, look what happens. This is what a syntax error is. Anytime you see a red dot or a red squiggly line, that's basically the compiler or the computer telling you, I have absolutely no idea what you're saying here. And that's why attention to detail is everything in programming. You got to look at every character, and sometimes with some of these fonts, the L can look like a 1. You see how similar that is? And I've had a lot of students get frustrated trying to figure out that that's an L and not a 1. All right. But at the end of the day, not only does that matter, case also matters. If you try to call printline with a capital P, computer says, I have absolutely no idea what you're talking about. Why? Because you didn't use a lowercase p. What about main? Well, what if I want to call it MAIN? Right? There's main. Nope. Oh, get out of here. I'm not sure why it let me do that. But for the most part, whatever you see in the book, the examples in the book, at least the syntax for the commands needs to be exact. All right. You have a little more freedom on the data, right? But as far as the syntax of each one of these lines, that matters, right? Well, I can't use square brackets here. I have to use parentheses. All right. So just make sure that as you are looking at the code from the book, that you're paying very close attention to every single character on each one of those lines. All right. So once we get rid of all these syntax errors, we should be able to hit this play button up here, green triangle, or you can right click in the middle here and say run file. Either way should work. I typically right click and just say run file. And if we look down at the bottom here, there it is. We see our output. All right. Now notice that we're not constrained to just programs with one line of code. We can add, right, multiple lines of code, and I just copied and pasted there. And maybe we have several print line statements that says, you know, Bengals rule. Well, I don't know about this year, but last year it was a great time. And what else can we say? I don't know. Football is the best. I'm not talking not football, but football. All right, and so as long as you're using these print line statements appropriately with the proper syntax, we see that there's no errors. You know, a lot of new students will forget something like a semicolon, right? And they're, oh my gosh, why won't this thing understand me? Well, you forgot your semicolon, okay? And that happens a lot as well. All right, so when you're creating your code, just make sure you slow down, look at every character, and if you need help at the end of the day, that's why I'm here. Reach out via email. That's why we have the online tutoring. All right, for sure, reach out and let us know how we can help there. All right, and so I modified this program. I don't see any syntax errors. I should be able to right click, say run file, and lo and behold, we see all of this wonderful data. All right, so that is basically what they wanted you to do for programming activity 1, and go through that and answer in the discussion these 4 questions once you're done playing there. It's really, this activity here is just to get you used to using NetBeans, creating a simple Java program application that will output some things to the screen. All right. All right, so that's the discussion. Make sure your first post is at least 150 words by, well, typically it's Wednesday. I know week 1 is kind of off sometimes, so I'm not too worried about week 1, but normally by Wednesday is 150 initial post, 150 words initial post, and then 2 additional posts by Sunday at midnight. And those, need to be substantial, not just great job, at least a couple of sentences where you're trying to build on the information that's in the discussion, or maybe a revelation you had, something that is substantial that will help build this knowledge base in this discussion. All right, so that is the week 1 discussion. What else do we need to do? Let's see here. So we went over the quiz, we went over the discussion. Oh yes, the week 1 programming assignment. Let's talk about that. So week 1 programming assignment. This is it. All right. And so if you did the discussion, you should be well prepared for this, because the week 1 programming assignment basically wants us to write a program that's going to display your top 3 items of your life bucket list. Okay. And I always find it fun to grade this assignment, just to see what everybody's bucket list items are. These are obviously my bucket list items, and I have more, but this is top 3-ish. All right. So when you run your program, your week 1 program, yeah, I should see 3 unique items that call out your life bucket list. All right. Now, before we talk about this, how do we go about doing this? All right, same thing. We go to the remote desktop. All right, maybe go ahead and close out the files that you've already created. All right, please don't try to reuse projects. The NetBeans will get very confused, and you'll get all sorts of weird errors, and life would just be way more frustrating than you thought. All right, so always, 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 for every new assignment discussion, come up here and go new project. We're going to say Java application. We're going to give it a nice descriptive name. What is it, 22? Did I put 211 last time? Oops, I meant to put 210. So when you see this up here, that's 210 chapter 1 discussion. I'll rename it when I'm done here. 210 chapter 1 discussion. No, this is not the discussion. I'm losing it. This is the programming assignment. All right, so create a nice descriptive name. Make sure you just leave this as is, the default location. Here though, this is where things are a little bit different from the discussion. Go ahead and check create main class, because, and you can get rid of all this. Just keep the main class simple. Well, you know what, fine. Just leave this as default if you want. Either way is fine. But make sure this is checked. This needs to be checked. This needs to be unchecked. Checked, unchecked. Click finish. And now what you'll see is it creates the project for you. It also creates the Java file for you. All right. Here's your class name. Here's that main method that we were just talking about, but notice there's nothing in that main method. Right? So I'm looking to see that you can put 2 and 2 together from that discussion and put some code here inside of main. And in fact, I would even clean it up a little bit. I hate all these default comments. It makes it look super generic. I would clean it up to look something a little more like this, where you've got a nice class header at the top. Here's your main method. You don't have any of those you know, default comments that it automatically puts in, like the to-do. And yeah, come in here, add your code. I've kind of added some pseudocode statements here, kind of explaining what it is that you're supposed to do. And then when you're all said and done, you should be able to right click, say run, and I should see those 3 items down here in the output window. All right. Now, here's the other part. When you're done with your assignment and you've got your code here, your output looks good, you've tested it, you've debugged it, you're happy. What you need to do is create a results document. All right, easiest way to do this is go down here to just launch Word inside of the virtual environment. Go ahead and create a blank document. All right, and first thing I want to see is, let's go back to NetBeans, your code. So go ahead and grab Control-A, Control-C, grab all of that code, come in here into Word, paste. All right. Maybe put the file name at the top here. Whatever we call it, CIS2 week1 EA.java. Right? Here's your code. Below the code, what I want to see are screenshots of it running. And again, this is the results document. This is required for all programming assignments. I need to know, not only can you come up with the Java code, but can you run it? And can you use a Java IDE? So once you've run it and you've got some decent output here, I also need to see this timestamp over here. All right, I need to know you're not just copying and pasting it from another document. All right, so once everything looks good on this screen here, what I want you to do is there should be a snipping tool. If you look here, called snipping tool, what a strange name. And we're gonna come up here and say mode full screen. I think this will do it, full screen snip. All right, and it grabbed the entire, grab the entire screen, and then just come up here and do a copy, minimize the snipping tool, and then come down here to your Word document. Oh, this stupid tool keeps getting in the way. Let's go to Word document, and I want you to paste. All right, and the good thing is, if you want, you can, I guess, turn the paper sideways. I can always zoom in here and get a better look. But I do need to see this timestamp. I do need to see some successful output here. Your bucket list item should be here. And I do need to see, I'm not so worried about your code. You've already listed it at the top of the results document. All right, that's where I'm going to look at the code. Here, what I'm more interested in seeing is good output and the timestamp. All right, for this particular program, it's a fairly simple program, and we just need one screenshot because it only does one thing. For other programs where we get into looping logic and conditional logic, different data may make the program do different things. There you will need eventually to take multiple screenshots using different data. All right, but at this point, for this week 1 assignment, you just need this one screenshot showing your bucket list items down here with the proper time in the bottom and the code up here at the top. If you want to maybe format this code, make it look a little better, that's fine as well. But at the end of the day, as long as the code's there, I'm happy. Go ahead and save that. Save your results document. And I would say save it. Okay, here's the thing. Well, where is your code located? So when you created that project, the default location is always under Documents, which is where it is right now, NetBeans Projects, and then find, And now you know I use descriptive variable names. What are we in? We're in 22 FA chapter. Yep, this is it. If you go inside of your folder there, inside of source, this is where all of your Java code would be. So this is where I would put your results document. That'd be week 1 results. Sure. Maybe include your name if you like there. All right, click on save. And once you do that, the reason I say that is because at the end of the day, what is it that you're going to turn in? You've completed the Java code, you've completed the results document. What I want you to do is come here under documents, go into NetBeans projects again, go into your folder that you just created, go into your source folder here. This is your Java file. This is your results document. I guess you could just submit both of these to the week 1 assignment in the classroom, or later on, you may have more than one Java file and a results document. You can highlight both of these, right click, say send to, and maybe you call this 210. I don't know, something nice and descriptive, and you can just submit this one zip file. If that gets too complicated, I know some students aren't comfortable with that, just go ahead and submit both of these files, and I'll be good with that as well. All right, so we are running up against the clock. I hope everyone has found this useful. And a little caveat real quick. When you submit, make sure you go into Chrome in the virtual desktop. This is the other thing. And come down here to week 1, and you're going to click on this, right? Week 1 programming assignment. You're going to submit here through the virtual desktop. You're submitting through the virtual desktop, because if you try to submit on your computer, you're not going to be able to find the Java files or the result document that we just created. So you're going to do, once you log into the virtual desktop, you're basically doing everything inside the virtual desktop, including submission of your assignment. All right. So yeah, that's basically week 1 in a nutshell. If you have any questions, definitely feel free to reach out. I always appreciate any feedback. Let me know what you like, what you don't like. That's definitely what keeps me going. Okay. But other than that, have a great week, and let me know if I can help.